Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Now clear.
Everybody, here we go. Dr. Homebrew. Back at it. Back in the surgery. Or whatever.
Back at the surgery.
That wasn't my specialty.
More of
Brian?
More of a foot guy. I don't know. Here we are. We're ready to drink some beer. And we're ready to tell you about the beer. And we're ready to talk to the people who have been brewing this tasty, tasty beer for us. But first, before we jump into all that nonsense, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com. They're the ones who do PBW, Star San, Iota 4, all those great products that you guys have probably been using for years. But in case you haven't, what's wrong with you? Stop sucking at life and at homebrewing. Go to your local homebrew shop and ask for 5 Star Chemicals.
It's a little judgmental, don't you think?
Is it inaccurate?
Well,
No.
maybe.
No, it's not. If you don't use 5 Star, you're not a good home brewer. You suck, and you should stop doing it.
You should just jump off a bridge.
I wouldn't go that far.
You should just get some 5 Star.
You should get some 5 Star, but I wouldn't jump off a bridge because I feel like you can learn still how to be human. Just don't procreate.
Until you've learned how to clean your supplies properly.
Right.
Right. Okay.
It's pretty good.
That's
right?
reasonable. Yes. No
Thank
bridges.
you very much.
That's
I appreciate
fair.
that.
That's
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
No bridges over 6 inches anyways.
No. Why would we want to do that? That'd be insane.
No, that would be crazy. Yes.
I mean, maybe you could,
actually, this is really horrible line of discussion here. Let's just stop this. This is inappropriate.
maybe you can practice.
Not that anything's inappropriate here, but
Right. Of course.
right.
We have a good show for you guys today. We're going to have a style that I've never heard of before.
It's because it didn't exist.
What's it called?
Pivo Grodziskie.
Grodziskie.
It did exist.
We're going jet skiing.
Something like that with beer.
Wait, you asked Siri, Brian. I heard you before we started the show.
I had Google Translate read it for me, and I don't know if it's right, but it's, yeah.
Grodziskie.
Wait, do it again.
No.
Oh, Brian.
I lose. Download package. Here we go.
Grodziskie.
Grodziskie.
That's better than downloading a package.
Hang on, let me tell Pies. We need 30 minutes. All right. Yeah, I'm excited about the Grodziskie.
If you're in Poland, you just hold up your phone like, want some of this, whatever
That'd
it is.
be good. Oh, it spells it out for you right on the thing.
It's just like a big blue background with the word. It's like,
man.
give me this stuff.
Give me the thing. And then this is the show that we have our good, large, bald friend, Pies, who ate all the pies. He's going to be on with his robust porter, right?
Yes. No. Baltic Porter.
Baltic porter.
Baltic. Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Pies. Just, it's what happens. But first, let's talk to Bill and find out what is happening.
We actually get to talk to people this time?
Yes, we do.
Awesome.
We do. Bill, are you with us?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes. There he is.
Hey, man, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course. So how long have you, Bill, been homebrewing?
I started back in the late 1990s, but I wouldn't say I was steady with brewing. I've been in states of hiatus for quite some time, on and off, but the past 2 years I've been into it pretty deeply. I've been doing all grain steadily for about the past year and a half.
Awesome. That's pretty good. It's not bad, right?
Not
good.
Coming and going and whatever. So tell me about the Grodziskie. What gave you the idea to brew a beer that nobody's ever heard of?
Well, one of these days I was just sitting around and, I'm like, and a lot of brewers say this, what am I going to brew next? So, being of Polish ethnic is what I am. I wanted to look into something from Poland. And, I've never heard of the brew either. And I did a little Googling on it. Just on Polish beers, I did find out they certainly like a lot of other styles out there, but I came across, and I just call it Grodziskie, but I came across that, and it was interesting. It was the history on it was really, really cool, and the more I learned about it, the more I really got into the style, and the recipe I got was actually from Poland, is where it came from.
Oh, really? Okay. What is this style supposed to be?
It's a smoked wheat. Is my impression of it. I'm still trying to get a grasp of it. There are really no known commercial styles to go off of. It is starting to make a bit of a comeback, from what I understand, which is why I wanted to try and put this on the show. This is the second batch that we have now. The first batch I did enter in a local competition. It did come in second, and actually it came in second to another Grodziskie.
That's awesome.
Grodziskie?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to find out, to see if I can just get more feedback on the style itself. If I'm getting what the judges are looking for, or am I off of the style? Am I in the style?
Okay.
Well, we will see what we can do for you. Keep in mind, as far as BJCP goes. Well, so as you pointed out, there are no existing commercial samples anyone knows about, at least over here. As far as BJCP goes, this style appeared in the 2015 guidelines that came out this year that haven't quite gone into competition effect yet.
It's in the guidelines.
It's in those guidelines.
Wow.
It's historical beer.
Okay.
So it's based on researches they have done, and I think, although I can't pin down exactly where, I remember there was a magazine article or two written about this stuff, probably by some well-known homebrewers.
Yeah, I think Zymergy has something about it.
Yeah, it was probably like Drew Beecham or someone, but I'm not sure I remember that correctly. I may be wrong there. So what are the judges expecting? I think most of the judges still haven't even had a homebrewed version of this yet.
And until the new guidelines came out, they didn't even have a description of it.
Most have not even heard of it. So what I did and what Brian did, we talked about this a bit, is really we just compared this to what it said in the guidelines. Because we got nothing else to go on right now.
Right. We can't calibrate or see what anybody else has done. You're right.
It's just a straight sort of details and hedonic comparison to what is written into those guidelines.
Okay.
So it's kind of, which is a little bit unfortunate, because often the guidelines read a little narrower than the style would allow, but we don't even know if that's true here. It gave a little interesting history. It said this used to be a very popular beer in that part of the world, and was actually exported across a lot of Europe, and then died out in the 40s.
No, it died out in the 1990s.
No, earlier.
Together.
Well, sorry. Yes, you're right. It started going downhill in the 40s after World War II.
In the 40s. Yeah.
And by the 90s, it was totally gone. And
not
now
brewed
it's
at all.
I wonder why.
Resurrected, maybe over there, certainly by homebrewers here. Wonder why? It probably had something to do with a wall.
I think it has, and something to do with some of the other styles that have been revived, the Ghost and some of those other things.
Yeah, ask the Soviets. They might remember.
Berliner Weiss is like more known now. So people.
For those of you who are old enough to remember the Soviets.
I think people in general are looking for these kind of more esoteric beer styles.
Well, now.
To kind of bring. Yeah, in the last, 2 years maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
But yeah.
Oh, really?
So
you
it's
think
an interesting historical sort of rebirth here.
Okay. Well, Lee, why don't you get us started on this beer then, man?
Here is my opinion of this historical rebirth. So just for anybody listening, what this beer is supposed to be, Bill was right. I mean, it's a smoked wheat beer. It's described as being lightly smoky. It's oak smoked. It's not like the Bamberg Rauch smoke. It can be, fairly to moderately bitter. Low gravity, sort of light and refreshing. Pale beer, very pale beer.
Highly
Should have a good
carbonated,
head. Highly
head.
carbonated, yeah. It is not sour.
It's not sour.
It states that several times in this style guideline.
It really
this
does.
is not intended to be a sour beer, and it is not, in fact, sour.
So a clean and somewhat substantial hop bitterness, too.
Yeah.
But still be sessionable.
Yeah, and sessionable. It's like a low gravity beer. So what I got in here is for aroma, a light woody smoke, a low apple ester, which is actually described in there as something that's expected. A little bit of honey kind of notes. No hop aroma that I picked up at all. The smoke ranges from woody kind of oak smoke, like a campfire. Sometimes it seemed to be a little bit bacony to me, which would be a Rauchberg smoke, which isn't the style. But mostly it came across as the oak smoke, and I don't know if that's just temperature variation or not knowing quite what to expect. I have not had a lot of oak-smoked beers in the past. Mm-hmm. Didn't pick up any DMS or diacetyl or any ferment problems like that. So the nose for me, except for that maybe occasional wobble into bacony territory, was actually pretty good. I thought it matched pretty much what the only reference I have, these guidelines, told me it should be.
The old bacon wobble?
Yeah, the bacon shouldn't be there, but yeah.
And it's not.
Other than that,
Yes.
The bacon wobble, that's a whole nother show.
That is a whole nother show.
Bacon wobble
that's a
going
whole
on here,
nother show.
too, after getting back from the Midwest.
Yeah. Brian's doing the bacon wobble now, yeah. Yeah, that's even another show. So appearance, brilliant clarity, is very clear beer, very pretty, very pale gold color, almost getting into
clear.
yellow kind of straw territory, really. It pours a low white form, mixed bubble size that faded kind of quickly to a bead. Partial cover. Per the style guidelines, this should have a pretty thick, persistent head. So I think that was a little off of expectations there, but that's not a huge point. For the flavor, prominent bittering, clean bittering lingers through to the finish. Subtle hint of smoke. Very low spicy hop flavor, a little bit of that apple ester. Finish is very dry, with lingering bitter and a whisper of smoke, and a little something else that I can't even read in my home writing. Oh, and a little else. There you go. No wonder I can't read it. The smoke emerges a bit more as it warms to a better balance. So in the flavor initially, I thought the bittering was too prominent. I mean, when I said prominent bittering, this hit me almost like an IPA. Well, no, not like a good, strong IPA does for bittering.
Like almost before the smoke.
It was the first thing to hit me, yeah. And for me, I mean, this does say you can have moderate to fairly strong bittering, but for me, that was too much. And I'll get into that in a minute, but it's more of a matter of balance against the smoke. My mouthfeel, light, very crisp, dry body, low carbonation. Per style, it should have more. It probably should be 2 to 3 atmospheres. This seems a little bit undercarbonated to me. Not alcoholic or warming at all. It is a drying character, probably from the high bittering and the low gravity and the smoke, which will also dry things out a bit. I wouldn't say it's astringent at all, but it has a very drying, kind of lingering character that wasn't 100% pleasant, I think, from the combination of those three things. Overall impression, I thought it was an intriguing example of a style that's new to me. A promising hint of smoke in the aroma was not necessarily followed by as much in the flavor, although the flavor of the smoke flavor did come up more as it warmed up over time. So initially it seemed like it was too low. As it got a little warmer, it came out more. And I've noticed this in other smoke beers. They tend to be very temperature dependent in how they present the smoke character.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, at least to me. And this one definitely seemed to come out more as the beer warmed up. A big bitter character dominated everything else, especially when it was colder. And it gave a somewhat astringent finish. I wouldn't say astringent might not be the right word, but it wasn't very drinkable at the start. And to me, it was just the combination of that much bittering, IPA level bittering, at least apparently, and the smoke and the low gravity of this made it seem just kind of have a pleasant kind of, it's not quite astringent, but it's pretty close. Almost a drying, it's like leaves your tongue feeling like it's a little coated with fur or something.
The two flavors are clashing a little bit.
They're clashing. It's too much.
Yeah,
as it warmed up, the balance seems better, but that not so nice finish kind of stuck around. So I think there's something at the high levels of bittering plus the smoke, balance-wise, that has to be figured out for a modern palate to make it appealing. is kind of my take on this because, again, there's nothing we can compare this to. So for me, maybe decrease the IBUs a bit. Smoke flavor, you could increase it, but I'm not sure I would. I mean, maybe. From the description, you're probably sort of the middle-low end of that scale. The foam stand could be a little bit better, but I think maybe that's partly because the carbonation is not high enough in this beer. So I think I don't remember if I noticed. No, this looks like it's probably a keg fill, not a bottle condition. So we can talk about that a bit if you want. Those are the main things. I think this was actually a very interesting beer, and given that you got nothing to shoot for but written descriptions, I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a matter of fine-tuning the balance.
Is that how you feel too, Bill?
Pretty much so, yes.
Yeah. I gave it a 28, and I think maybe I was being a little harsh on it with that. Mm-hmm. I could see raising, especially when I get the flavor when it warms up a bit, maybe going up into the low to mid-30s. But it was actually a pretty decent beer. I really enjoyed drinking it. It's very entertaining, interesting, fascinating beer. Mostly it's just that finish needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Dr. Brian.
Sessionable, yeah.
Sessionable, yes.
Okay. This beer, in the aroma, I found moderately low malt aroma with some lightly smoky overtones. Can I get some music again? Like a distant campfire on a crisp, cool night. Very faint herbal, earthy hop aroma. Kind of difficult to pick out much wheat aroma, but it's clean overall. There's low esters kind of out of the way, fruity, neutral, estery quality kind of behind everything else. No DMS or diacetyl, cleanly brewed. Nice beer. Color-wise, again, yeah, same thing Lee said. Brilliantly clear, beautiful, pale, like light golden yellow color. The head just wasn't there. So, it started low, faded pretty quickly after pouring. It was white, and it just kind of turns into a little ring of white bubbles around the glass, fine white bubbles. In the flavor, and I kind of differ with Lee on some of the points here, and we can talk about the recipe and where the IBUs land and all that stuff too. But it did again come down to kind of a balance thing for me as far as what could be improved from the beer. It had a medium-high smokiness dominating the aroma, the flavor. It was also there in the aroma, but yeah, it came through more strongly in the flavor, which in the guidelines it does say it can come through more strongly. It should be gentle, and it should not overpower everything else. It's not going to be an acrid kind of smoke, and this isn't to that level, but it's a pretty high smokiness to me. But still pleasant. Just seemed a bit high for what I'm reading the style to be. But again, likely never had one. Would like to try one. A real a commercial. What makes a commercial version better than the homebrew version? I'd like to travel back in time to the 1930s and have a no. I want to go to Eastern Europe in the 1930s.
Yeah, you might fit right in.
Taken over by the Nazis and drink beer.
The only difference is one side of that coin makes more than the other, quantity wise. So yeah, the wheat element's kind of low, hiding a bit. There's a little bit of kind of a honey-like sweetness in there. Low hop, mainly kind of an earthy flavor in there. But yeah, the smoke to me kind of dominates, and there's a little bit of bitterness, but to me, I didn't get the bitterness as high as Lee got it. And, it's a bit grainy and kind of clean. It seemed like maybe a low temp ale ferment, or else the esters just aren't pushing up above everything else that's there. Only subdued fruitiness. The bitterness is kind of medium low, and it could be a little firmer to my taste to balance it out. Now, what I read in the guideline, and what I'm playing off of when I'm saying this comment too, is that a moderate to strong bitterness is readily evident, which lingers through the finish. The overall balance is toward bitterness. When it's saying the smoke character should be gentle and soft, and the bitterness is pretty firm. To me, it doesn't have the bitterness. I'm not getting it as bitterness, and maybe I'm either interpreting some of the smoke flavor or some of the bitterness as smoke flavor, or Lee's interpreting some of the smoke flavor as bitterness. It's attacking his tongue.
Just wrong.
I don't know. Anyway,
No, and I agree. The bitter intensity is not necessarily outside of what it says it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it can be like up to 35 IBUs. It's not going to be an IPA bitterness territory, but, it's going to be like American Pale Ale bitterness territory. So to me,
with
it's
this
not
low
quite
gravity,
there.
that's going to show
That would
out.
really,
with the there's not a lot of malt.
There's nothing to balance it against. So it's really going to show.
So you can be a little heavy-handed on accident.
I mean, I was looking
with
for
the
like an
bitterness.
alt beer kind of bitterness in there or something. It just wasn't quite there for me. I was just getting mostly smoke. Body wise, and that smoke just lingers in the aftertaste. It stays for a long time, and it's not overly intense. Like you get some smoked beers that are just out there. It's definitely not walloping you upside the head. It's just it's the smoke. I think is probably about where it needs to be. I could see backing it off a little bit to let some of the other things shine through a little better, and bring up the bitterness. I mean, that gets into feedback, but that was my take on the balance of the beer. And we're swinging both ways on a teeter-totter. Maybe you work your way through that and get to the right point. But what's a teeter-totter, Brian? Yeah. Anyway, body-wise, medium light-bodied where it should be, medium-low carbonation. That was kind of a little low. No warmth. I did get a bit of an attack from the overt smoky character. Probably it's kind of biting the tongue and giving, like Lee described, kind of a gritty, leathery feeling on the tongue. Kind of like you take a shot of bong water and swirl it around in your mouth a little while.
Before my driving test, I did that.
It is pretty crisp though with the drying finish and the smoke that's there. Still, it's a little bit crisp, so that's nice, and that fits the style too. Overall, I thought it was
water smoked Grodziskie.
Yeah. Oh no. Overall, it's a very, very nice attempt at what I perceive the style to be, and mostly just balance issues, which you can find in any specialty beer. Like, hey, so this is a vegetable beer with, vegetable and spice beer. I'm only getting the vegetable. Where's the spice? It needs both. They need to work together and play nice. And this one, to me, it's the smoke kind of winning out over the bitterness and. If you just increase that bitterness just a little bit more. So we're telling you to do opposite things, and you can choose which of us to listen to.
And we're going to make you heavily conflicted here.
Then also a higher CO2 level might also give it that little pop, too, that give it that desired carbonic bite and improve the head size and retention and give it that spritziness that is kind of missing there, too, and improve the crispness of it. So I think it should be a little more subtle and delicate in the smokiness, but still be a little bit more bitter and balanced. A little bit of smooth bitterness.
More bitter.
I think
more
so.
More bitter? Really?
You're drunk.
Yes.
Okay. Brian thinks more bitter.
I don't think it has. I don't think it has the bitterness of an IPA. If you guys both tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. If Bill tells me this thing is it's 45 IBUs, I fucked it up, then I'll believe you guys.
I don't think the absolute IBU level is that important as compared to the balance against the malt. And the malt in this, I'm sure the terminal gravity is very low and it's very dry and crisp, and any IBUs are just popping like crazy. So, this could be 30 IBUs and still come across as real bitter because there's nothing to balance it against. It's always a matter of balance.
Yeah. The overall balance is toward bitterness. Again, I'll read that sentence in there.
Well, I agree. It's by what it says in that style guideline, I don't think there's anything here that's wrong. For me, what doesn't work is the fact that the finish is not entirely pleasant. It's that combination of bitter and smoke. So this is a bit of a conundrum because you can do what it says there and get something to, at least to my palate, and apparently to Brian's too, because he's talking about that not so nice leathery kind of finish.
Yeah,
it is not entirely pleasant, and I'm not sure how to resolve this as to whether the guidelines gave more leeway than there should be, or something else is going on here.
Well,
but I think if you push both the smoke and the bitter as high as that says you can in a beer that is this light in body, you're at risk of leaving a finish that's not so good.
Which I think
probably shouldn't be there.
Which I think is what that is. So, but like you were saying, Lee, the lack of sweetness in the malt, and I feel bad for Bill because we've been talking about his beer like he's not listening.
Oh, he's listening. I know.
The lack of sweetness, the lack of malt. I imagine it's a pretty low gravity beer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so I think you can back off of the hops, maybe even 5 IBU, and which doesn't seem like a lot, but I think in a beer like this, it would make an impact because the smoke is pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's hard to balance. So you agree that the smoke is pretty heavy?
I think, but I really like smoked beers. Like, I'm one of those freaks.
The two things I'm most curious about in the recipe is what kind of smoked malt was used. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The recipe calls for 100% oak smoked wheat malt. It has to be oak smoked. It has to be a wheat malt. And if you've ever tried to make a beer from 100% wheat malt, it's got enough enzymes to convert itself. I've done it. It works fine. Just sometimes you can have a little slow sparge or maybe stuck, but that can be done. It's just interesting that they make a beer like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing would be, the bitterness level and see where we're at with that.
All right, well, let's let Bill defend his beer here.
I will say that it is going to be hard to balance a beer like this, like you guys are saying.
For sure.
With it being this low gravity and all the things that you need to get into it to make it fit this description.
Yeah.
All right, Bill.
Go Bill.
What's your recipe for this thing?
I gave it a 35.
Okay. I mean,
Yes.
I have to say I do agree with this second batch I made here. I wasn't really happy with the finish on this one. I get the same feeling in my mouth as you guys are getting. The first batch was a lot smoother finish. Interesting enough, I've used 50% German wheat malt, unsmoked. In this recipe, I have 25% oak smoked malt. I actually have 12.5%, and this is the interesting one, mesquite smoked malt. Maybe that's where the bacony was coming from.
Yeah.
It might be where some of the edginess on the smoke that's getting Brian comes from, too.
It's
'cause
spicy.
mesquite-
There's like a spicy thing with the hops, maybe, that's not working too well.
Yeah, I don't know. Mesquite's pungent stuff.
Yeah.
I seen it in the homebrew shop, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my God, I got to get some of this stuff. It just came out into the store.
It's the Polish New Mexican Grodziskie. Put some green chili in here, too.
And the beer is good. The smoke character.
That actually sounds pretty good.
And then finally, there's 12.5% of spelt malt. And I'm wondering if that's where the hint of honey you're getting comes
It's a
from.
little seat of your pants, kind of like, let's throw this all together and try to get this balance. Or was the other one had a little more smoked malt and you backed it off a bit? Or what was the rationale for the malt bill there?
The first one, according to the score sheets, I was asked to increase the bitterness, actually. So this batch, I did increase the hop addition some, and according to my sheet here, I'm looking at a estimated of 51 IBUs on this sheet.
Oh,
Wow. What's the terminal gravity, the original gravity on this?
1030.
And the terminal?
Wow.
It finished at 1010.
Yeah.
So,
I hate it when
2.6.
Lee's right. Lee, you're always right, buddy. I should just listen to you.
Believe me, I am not always right.
Well, so last night I was drinking.
Bill.
I was drinking.
You went for it, man.
A shit ton of little something before I judged this light, delicate beer, and it just, I guess the bitterness just didn't come through. And then before this, we've been drinking all sour beers earlier tonight. So
Excuses. That's all I hear.
Yeah.
that's my excuse. No,
So 51.
that's pretty bitter. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
How
started
many
with.
IBUs in your first batch?
What's that?
How many IBUs in your first batch?
I don't have the paperwork
Okay.
on that one in front
But
of me.
you
here.
upped it.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah. So where'd you get the oak smoked malt?
Just from the local homebrew store.
that's regular
I
barley
hear
malt?
it's a little more popular these days. I forget who makes it, but it's quite readily available. It seems to be now, at least.
All right. Okay. So it wasn't home smoked malt.
No, I wanted to keep consistency. I knew I was going to continue to repeat brewing this beer, and I would have loved to went through and actually smoked the malt and everything, but I just wanted to make sure that this was consistent batch after batch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think do we have any other questions for him? I mean, everything was great. Clear,
any-
tasted good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, like I said, I was just interested in maybe, what would you say, decrease that hop bitterness then, and maybe go back to that original recipe some.
Knowing what we know now,
51 IBUs in a beer of this size is pretty big.
Pretty hefty.
Yeah. I mean, that's getting beyond pale ale range even.
I mean, if that's really where it landed, you could get it analyzed, and it might be 40 or something. But
Yeah.
What would you drop it? 10 IBUs?
I would drop it to like 35 IBUs that are called for in the guidelines. If your judges told you, well, with your water, the way the hops are working, you should bump them up a little bit, or in the recipe from the first batch. And if that was, more reasonable level, then maybe just put it back where it was if it was between 20 and 35. But I would also just replace that the mesquite smoked malt with more of the oak smoked malt.
Yeah, I would stay away from mesquite for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
That's gonna fix that finish, I think.
There's like a spice. My buddies were doing a barbecue competition, and they were asking for some input, and they were using mesquite. And I'm like, this is the worst choice. Do not use because it gave the spicy thing that I don't know. You couldn't
almost creosote sometimes.
Yeah, you can't kind of place it, and I couldn't. I was like, there's some weird like sharpness to this, rib, and then they finally told me that they were smoking with mesquite. I'm like, you guys are dumb. Not that Bill. Not that you're an idiot, but they're stupid. They're pretty dumb.
But you are very smart, Bill, to have done this.
Yeah, and the mesquite,
I would lose the mesquite
because the mesquite sounds good, but I think in this, it's accentuating that hot bitterness a little bit with that kind of spiciness.
I would think that's very possible. Yeah, the pungency of the mesquite could combine with the bitterness and just make for some of this not very nice finish. And if you need mesquite with it, just barbecue some chicken over mesquite and serve it side by side. It'd probably be great. You can get away with that with some simple chicken, but
chicken.
Is it a kegged beer? What's the carbonation level when you pour it into a glass?
Oh yeah, that was a keg beer. I'm guessing it just lost carbonation from transfer and over time, because it was a fresh pour out of the keg. It did yield a much bigger head on it. It was much more carbonated. So I'm guessing it's just some bottling practice there.
Yeah.
Just bump it up a couple points.
Bump it up a couple extra points. Yeah. Freeze your bottles. Do it as cold as possible. Cap it right away. All those happy things. And that should help that.
All right, Bill. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for
tasty
sharing.
Beer. I'm going to brew one of these this weekend.
First one I've
I'm
tasted.
kind of curious to do this myself now too.
I'm going to jump on the Pico Brew and knock out a batch.
Do a Pico Pivo Grodziskie. Thanks you for being so adventurous and sending this in to us. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right, Bill. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
You're welcome.
Bye. Nice guy. Nice beer, too.
Yeah, interesting to get that.
All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have Pies on the line talking about his Baltic or Robust. I forget now.
Baltic.
All right. Dr. Homebrew, everyone, back after this.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Kings.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Beer tasting games that train your palate, a brewery locator, and the brand new interactive beer style guide. These are just a few of the awesome things you'll find on craftbeer.com. The style guide is a beautiful example of technology in beer. Browse beer style families or turn on the automatic beer style finder and explore beer through color, bitterness, ABV, aroma, and flavor. It's really the coolest way to explore every beer style besides having them all in front of you. Go to craftbeer.com and click on Beer Styles to start the guide. Plus, enjoy the rest of craftbeer.com, the Brewers Banter blogs, beer education, how to host a beer tasting, and the invaluable Draft Quality Manual. Tons of great content that makes your beer better. Visit the new craftbeer.com right now and explore the website that brings you all the passion, camaraderie, and creativity of the craft beer community. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. We have on the phone, direct from Australia, my close personal friend Pies. Pies, are you here?
I am here. How's it going?
Oh, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, just hanging out at work, but I've managed to sneak away for a little bit. So
nice. Well, I appreciate you doing so.
Yeah. How's things?
Things are good, man. Things are good. Just drink a little homebrew. And you had your beer. You didn't mess around with the mail or anything. You had it hand delivered to me, right?
Absolutely, yeah. From Crofty.
Awesome.
Australian called Krusty.
Wait, was this like a couple weeks
Crusty.
ago?
Crafty?
Crofty.
Crofty. Like Laura Croft.
Like Laura Croft.
Oh, okay.
Was this guy here just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I met him over at Faction.
He's delightful.
Oh, you're thinking of Brandon. Or Brendan.
The guy that was talking to the hop tip.
Yeah, you're thinking of Brendan. This was like a month and a half ago or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
He went to NHC.
Yes, that's when it was. That's cool, man.
Is it really true that it's like the middle of winter there or something?
You wouldn't believe it. It's quite warm today. Yeah, it started to warm up.
Cool.
Well, Pies, we've had you on the show before, I believe, so we'll skip all the, how long you've been homebrewing kind of stuff like that and just jump right into why this style of beer. Is this the Robust Porter, right?
Baltic.
Why do I get that? I'm stupid.
I don't know why.
Is that a favorite beer style of yours, or is this the first time you tried it, or what's going on?
It's the first time I've tried brewing it. And I just wanted to get some feedback on it.
Okay.
I like doing, every winter I like to do like a couple of big beers, and I'd never tried this out before, so I thought I'd have a go.
Oh, great. All right, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, Brian.
Yeah, I've done a couple of Russian Imperial Stouts and that, and just thought I'd try something a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, man. So, in the aroma, I get like a rich, nutty quality, and it has this low kind of semi-sweet chocolate note in there. And the roast malt elements are coming through underneath that. Just a hint of caramel. A dark fruit is definitely prominent here. There's some cherries and plums. Esters are kind of medium high. There's no hop detected in this, as there shouldn't really be hoppy elements too strong in this. And it's clean, no DMS, no diacetyl.
It's not hopped like an IPA.
Yeah, seems cleanly brewed.
Grodziskie.
It's not 51 IBUs in the aroma. No. There's some alcohol evident too. You get a little jolt there, like, hey, there's a little. In the aroma, it just comes through as well as in the flavor too. I'll get to that. But it has a rich brownish black color, pretty deep dark beer. You can see through it a little bit. Has some kind of garnet highlights in there. It appears to be fairly clear, but it's hard to tell. Low light tan head that fades to color pretty soon after pouring it. Again, with all the alcohol that's probably there, it does happen on these beers sometimes. But it should actually have a fairly long lasting head on a true beer of this style. But so I just took a little point off there. Anyway, flavor. I thought it has a pretty rich malt profile coming through. With the roast is actually coming out on top in the flavor, whereas in the aroma it was more the other elements, the nutty and the chocolatey. Here the roast is kind of biting me, and I don't know if it's the way it's playing off the water or something that's making it a little intense and rich. And it's a nice richness. It's just a little touch kind of maybe stout-like, and just a little more than I expect in this style. It needs to be a little bit smoother. It's not harsh. It's just a little rich on the roast. Some good fruity flavors in there. Plum, prune, raisin. Just below that, a little bit of nutty and chocolatiness in there. Some of those kind of Britishy flavors that you should have a fair amount of in this. That might be a little bit low for the style, but it's fine. It's the beer's a bit drying. I thought I got just a touch of there's some alcohol there. I thought I got just a touch of a little hot edge to the alcohol, but not too bad. Pretty smooth overall. It seems like cleanly fermented ale. Might have gone a little higher temperature. I don't know. Maybe you brewed it in the summer while we're having our crappy winter. Again, almost stout-like. It balances definitely the malts and the rich, intense malts there. No hops, and just a medium low bitterness balancing it out. So, mouthfeel wise, it's medium full bodied with a medium low carbonation, I'd say. It is slightly creamy. Also has a hint of astringency in there, but not anything really harsh. Just maybe again from some of the darker malts in there. A fair amount of warming is there, and it is a little warm in the back of the throat. Almost a little hot, but not bad. Just not quite as smooth as hoped for the style, but again, not knocking it down too far there. Overall, I thought this was a very tasty version of a Baltic Porter. The ones that I have the ones that I perceive to be truer to the style have a little more rounded edges to them, a little smoothed out, and just this one's just needs a little more balancing act. It's a bit intense on the roasty side of things. You need to either back that off or let it age out. I'm guessing this might be a younger version of the style, a younger example, but I don't know. It could take a while for that to age out too if there's a lot of it up front. But yeah, I would also maybe use some more appropriate English ingredients in there to pull out some of those middle malt characters and the mellow, smooth malts, the toffee-like, and some a little more chocolatiness and richness in there, as opposed to the roastiness. So maybe pull back the roast a little bit, push up some of those other flavors. I mean, it's a really tasty beer. Otherwise, I scored it a 34. I also think the aging will also smooth out the alcohol if this is a young example. So. Really like the beer, and thanks for sharing it with us, Josh.
All right, Lee.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with most of what Brian said. Aroma, some grainy malt, cocoa. I was picking up some kind of soy sauce notes in the nose a little bit.
Yeah, I get a little bit of that too.
Yeah. No hops in there, which is fine. A lot of actually not a lot, a little bit of some kind of dark fruit esters, some figs and raisins, which you expect in this style, and that's very nice. Some toasty notes. Seemed like a pretty clean ferment for the most part. No DMS or diacetyl, anything bad like that. I did pick up a kind of a low clean alcohol note, which is something you might expect in a beer like this. These are moderately alcoholic beers. And actually, I didn't get it when we first looked at it. But coming back to it now, I'm almost getting a hint of like a mushroom kind of character in the aroma, which is interesting, which is probably another age sort of related thing, I'm guessing.
Mushroom.
Unless you drop some fungus in the kettle.
So I think it's young, and
I'm thinking
Lee
it's
thinks
old.
it might be old.
Yeah. Appearance: black ruby highlights, good clarity.
Can I be wrong again?
Pours low tan foam, which fades pretty quickly to low bead. The foam on these beers should be persistent for the to be to style, so that's probably a little bit of a problem, but not a major thing. But it could use better foam stand and better retention on that. For the flavor, rich malt flavors, cocoa. A grainy base malt kind of flavor, a little more soy sauce kind of a flavor again. A lot of cherry and fig esters, and I'm not sure if those are ferment or malt-based derived things. The fig I think is probably malt-derived. The cherry I'm not so sure, unless you put some Munich in here. And oh, you did. Okay, so it might be from there. It could either of them could also be ferment. No hop flavor, which you'd expect. Supporting levels of bitter. I mean, the bitter is really not a major factor in this beer. Finish is smooth and rich and dry with some lingering cherry and some toast and some alcohol. Coffee flavor again, and a little bit of, I got a low chili pepper note, which you get out of some dark malts these days, and I don't know why. We had a discussion on that a couple shows back, I think, about extraction and things like that. So pick up that show if you want to review our discussion on that. The alcohol maybe had a little bit of a solventy edge to it. These beers are supposed to have a complex alcohol character, but for that I'd be expecting more sort of a spicy or floral alcohol character, and this just seemed more a clear sort of rubbing alcohol kind of note, but it's very low. I mean, I didn't even get it until fifth or sixth time I went back to look at flavor, so it's not a big deal, but it's perhaps not the best alcohol character in there. But for the most part, I don't think people are going to notice it too much unless they really sit and focus on this beer a lot.
Like a judge.
Like a judge, yes. Focus like a judge, man. Mouthfeel, rich, medium-high body, medium-low carbonation. Maybe use a little more CO2, maybe not. Low, clean alcohol warmth with maybe just a hint of that warmer alcohol. No astringency, although it is a bit drying in the finish, not really creamy. I thought it was, pretty much a clean, well-fermented, enjoyable Baltic porter. Very nice. Good malt complexity. Nice esters, probably malt drive, I'm guessing, although there's really no 100% way to tell. But cherry and fig are consistent with sort of chocolate malts and Munich malts, so that would be my guess if I had to do the guess. And a little bit of alcohol complexity of a better nature would improve this. Now, some of those spicier floral alcohols, but again, that's kind of a point of complexity. That's what makes the best versions of this beer what they are. It's part of it, but this is still a really actually kind of a nice beer. That will help develop it a little bit, and they'll help develop some of the sort of more port and vinous notes that you can get from age. The age will help develop some port finish notes. Sorry, I'm reading my sentences backwards. So these beers are often aged, and you'll get those kind of oxidation characters, the nice ones, the port and sherry kind of notes. This one, to me, was coming across maybe a bit more soy sauce, which I think is dark malt oxidation. So if it's got some age on it, it may have been a little rough. The age, the temperature may be a little too high, or some oxygen in there, too much, too fast. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But I thought the oxidation character was not a positive in this beer. It wasn't a big deal, but that's the difference between a good beer and a fabulous beer here. Finish was a bit drying, could be a little smoother. I would second Brian's comments there on sort of the roastier malts. I think they're probably a little high for this style. This should be a smooth, chocolatey, almost more caramel crystal kind of flavor in some of these beers. It shouldn't have a roasty kind of edge in the finish. But again, it wasn't a big deal, but there was sort of a difference between a good beer and a fabulous beer.
Those notes are just kind of more middle-of-the-road accent marks?
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have that sort of biting, roasty sort of, what do I want to say? It's not over the top or anything, but like ashy or yes, really dark, roasty kind of espresso-ish notes you get in a stout.
And it's not coming across as a Russian Imperial or anything like that. It's just a little high for the style.
I mean, I gave it a 35, which is a good score. I think you've hit all the main bases that need to be hit here. To make this better, you're looking for finesse and points for style and practice. So things like getting the ferment tweaked so you can just get a little bit of those spicy alcohols out of the yeast without getting them too hot. And honestly, that's just practice and trial and error to get your yeast to perform that well. Maybe throttle back a bit in the roast. And if the oxidation is coming up too fast and too hard and giving it that soy sauce character, maybe review bottling practices or kegging practices, however you're handling this, and try and reduce the oxygen content a bit so it can do a slower age. Cooler temperature storage helps too. I don't know where you're living down there, but it sounds like it's warm climate, so that can be rough on beers as you age them. But overall, yeah, I thought this was a pretty decent beer. I definitely enjoyed it. Be happy to drink a bottle of it. In fact, I think there's one left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, good job.
All right. Pies?
Thanks.
What do you want to say to the guys? Any questions?
So I'm mostly looking at the recipe. So there's the roast. I used 485 grams of Carafa Special 3. So that's a bit over a pound. And then a bit over a pound of medium crystal and Victory as well.
Question, what was the volume of this?
Like 23 litres, so about 6 gallons.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
and then
for converting to gallons.
So that was, it's an American show. You got to do your homework. So it was fermented with Saf Lager 3470. I just used 3 packets of that rehydrated. I think if I had more time, I probably would have used a liquid yeast, and I've got a stir plate, so I can make up to 5 litres on the stir plate, and then chill that down, and then decant off so it's just the yeast. So I can do that easily enough. But in the recipe with the roast, do you think a bit over a pound of Carafa Special 3 is a bit much?
I would say the Special 3 is a great choice because it gets rid of a lot of husk astringency. A pound for a 6-gallon batch, for a 22-liter batch, might be pushing it. That
seems like a lot.
That's not far off of what some stouts I've made would do. I mean, say like a dry stout, which is a much lower gravity beer, but still you're talking about the amount of roast material you'd use to hit that. So this is a smoother material and you've got a higher gravity, but still, I kind of suspect that is a little high for this, even though as a percentage-wise, it's not that big.
And the beer in general could lose some of the colour anyway and still be fine. Like it's quite dark for the style.
Agreed.
Yes.
Might be. Yeah. So I might drop the Carafa down a bit. And then what about the Victory? I think that is kind of like the plummy, raisiny kind of flavours.
I think the Victory and the biscuit are helping you just fine. They're in there and they're not hurting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some sort of flavors from that family, crystal malt, Victory, caramelly, malts with sort of sweet, fruity, caramelized characters is really almost required to make a good version of this beer. So I think and you've got some medium crystal Simpsons in here. So yeah, I think I would not necessarily throttle back on those. The biscuit's probably where some of the toastier, grainy stuff is coming from. And I don't know if that's necessarily required, but it probably doesn't hurt. But I mean, these beers are targeted to be about malt complexity with some accompanying ester. It's a little weird ester complexity, although these are cool ferment or lagered, so it's not necessarily coming from the ferment. And maybe a little bit of alcohol complexity coming through too, which means you got to really get the ferment nailed down to make a world class example of this. But yeah, I think those Crystal Cara style malts are a very good thing here.
And instead of some of the Carafa 3, you might throw in just a touch of chocolate malt, either some pale chocolate or medium to dark chocolate. Experiment with that just a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. So I might dial back the Carafa to maybe half a pound and then about 100 grams of chocolate in the next one, maybe.
I would go with exactly 100
And then,
grams. Not 101.
And the...
Being American, not that he knows the difference, but none of us do.
No, yeah. That's a good place to be with a little chocolate in there. Yeah, go ahead.
So was the beer stored cold there?
Yes.
It was cold when we got it, yeah.
For the most part, yes. Maybe not for the first, week, but yes.
He likes to let the beers bounce around in his car for a couple weeks.
that's basically the only time it would have been warm because it was fermented cold. Like I fermented it at about 10 degrees Celsius and let it rise just at the end just to finish it off. But then after cold conditioning, it went straight into a keg.
And when was
that? And then I bottled from the keg.
Yeah.
June.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
pretty young.
Old.
So it was, and it was fermented. Yeah, it was fermented like late May or the start of June. Yeah, late May it was fermented.
All right, Brian wins the age debate.
Yeah, it was cold conditioning for about 3 weeks in the fridge, and then went straight into the keg. And then I bottled it off the keg like the week before Crofty went over to America, but it stayed cold the whole time. And basically, I took it to our homebrew club meeting cold. He took it home, and then the next day he flew out. And the first stop, he got out of the plane at San Francisco and went to the hot grenade.
Nice.
that was the first thing he did. Yeah, so we tried to look after it as best we could to get it to the grenade in as good as condition as possible. So
I think you did great.
Pretty well handled. Yeah.
Yeah, it beats putting it on a ship and sitting for 3 months in a container.
Right.
Yeah. Assuming you have 2/3 of a keg of this left, I would just let it age for a few months, not even touch it until then. And I think some of that stuff is going to smooth out some of the alcohol, some of the roast. It's going to be a lot nicer beer in a few months. If the oxygen isn't too high in there, it might be, yeah.
That's a pretty big assumption. There's 2 bottles left.
I brewed it twice since then.
Goes fast. All right.
Try and save one for the holidays if you can force yourself to do it. It'll probably be worthwhile.
I think he's drinking his sorrows away because the eels are losing, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, you're right, mate. Yeah, the eels are struggling, but it'd be pointless to save it for the holidays because it's about 40 degrees here in summer. So I'm reaching for the lightest lager I can find.
Then just drink it.
Drink it in the spring. We'll save our bottle until then, and we'll drink it with you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, all right.
All right, Pies.
All right, cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Good chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. Thanks for sending this over. It's a lot of effort.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, no worries. And thanks to Crofty. He did a good job, too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Krusty, you did great, bud.
Crofty.
Thanks.
Crusty Crafty.
It's Krusty now.
Crafty Crusty.
Okay. JP likes to give everybody new names.
That's true. Pies, good talking to you, man. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Really?
Hopefully.
Winter Brews?
Cheers, mate. Oh, yeah, hopefully. Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see you before either of us die.
And
Sure.
Yeah.
soon? What?
All right, Pies.
Yeah, soon.
We'll talk to you later, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Really? Yeah, I hope so.
I want to hang out with this kid when he comes next thing.
I
here.
like Pies.
Yeah.
He's a nice dude. He's a really nice guy. Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We're going to wrap up and then get out of here. It's Dr. Homebrew back after this.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. High Gravity Homebrewing Supplies wants you to keep it simple. Brewing should be fun. And with High Gravity's amazing electric brewing systems, it is. High Gravity keeps their brewing systems simple, on purpose. More efficient than gas, customizable, and with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 vessels, High Gravity's electric brewing systems will completely change the way you brew beer, formulate recipes, and improve your beer's consistency. Dave at High High Gravity can customize your system to fit your needs. High Gravity invites you to visit their Build Your Own Brewery page and see how easy it can be to brew electric. And High Gravity offers $7.99 flat rate shipping on most of their products. www.highdgravitybrew.com. High Gravity. Keep it electric. Keep it simple. Visit highdgravitybrew.com. Admitted. Homebrewing is not always free of frustrations. Years ago, brothers Bill and Jim Mitchell decided to minimize those frustrations and create an entirely new brewing process and a brand new kitchen appliance, the Pico Brew Zymatic. The Zymatic sits on your kitchen counter and connects to the internet via Wi-Fi. It comes with access to a huge recipe library full of award-winning beers and can brew your next batch at the push of a button. Improve repeatability and refine your recipes with the Pico Brew Zymatic. With minimal cleaning and hassle, the Zymatic enables anyone to brew craft beer in the comfort of their own kitchen. Just add your ingredients and the process of homebrewing becomes simplified and automatic, allowing you to focus on what really matters while you brew. At Pico Brew, they believe everyone should be able to enjoy the art of homebrewing and make their own damn good craft beer. See the Zymatic in action today at picobrew.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. All right, we got some prizes to give out, and then we're going to get out of here.
Awesome.
But first, we're enjoying this delicious beer from Distill Brewery. We've had them on the show a couple times but one time on the back then the Sunday session, currently the Monday session. Distill, Destihl. They are out of Bloomington, Illinois, and this was one of the number of beers that a listener, who of course I forgot his name, I apologize, sent us a bunch of Midwest beers for a Dr. Homebrew to kind of sip on and try and whatever. And
somebody from Illinois, I assume.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah. And then, here you go, Brett.
We're going to throw it up on the can cam here.
Can cam. If
Wild Sour.
Bev's not paying attention, she won't do it.
Flanders Red.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to bring this beer to the show. I've been bringing it for like 3 months because I think it feels interesting. Go ahead, Brian, if you want to do it now. And we've just ran out of time drinking it. So this time we're like, forget about it. We're doing it.
Yeah. And we also have a little bit of this other beer that I brought in from a trip.
Back it up.
There you go. Wild Sour.
You got it. There you go.
Okay. We're also drinking a little bit of this.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
Which is from Wicked Weed in Asheville, North Carolina. It's their Montmoretto.
We're drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah. Barrel-aged American sour with cherries and almonds. It's very nice stuff. Very dry, cherry-ish.
A marzipan-y finish in there.
Yeah. It's very nice.
God, all this booze
so
is
we
going
got a couple
ahead.
of really interesting sours here we're doing side by side.
Yeah. It's been a good sour show, man.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to some prizes.
About that.
Who is getting the $40 at least your beer will look good Grog Tag gift certificate?
I think his name is Bill.
Bill
Sorowski.
With the Grodziskie.
The Pico Grodziskie.
Grodziskie.
Which I think qualifies as one of the most interesting beers we've had all year.
I like it.
Absolutely.
So that means Josh, who ate all the pies, is the winner of the highgravityhomebrew.com gift certificate. Good job, everybody. You guys both did great. You both
Thank
deserved
you, Josh,
it.
who eats pies.
They were both great beers. Right?
They were both great beers,
right.
I thought.
I thought so, too.
I scored them very close to each other, actually. It's like little balance issues with both of them, honestly. And it was just like, I mean, they're brewing great beer, these guys. So, yeah, good job.
Yeah, nice work. Thanks for bringing that Wicked Weed beer, Lee.
Sure. Yeah. And Bill has the uphill battle that none of us have ever had that kind of beer before. So
yes. Yeah.
It was an interesting...
It was very
interesting experience.
Very interesting.
Again, reminders of the 2015 guidelines that's going to be coming around the corner that everything will be
changing. Yes, absolutely.
You'll find that most of the 2008 guideline styles are represented in here. So if you just want to be classic, just learn what the new number is and send it as that.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be all right. Trust me. Trust us. You'll be fine.
Changeovers should be around the end of this year. We'll start talking about those.
Yeah. Check out the new brewingnetwork.com. We've changed up our website. All of our shows are easier to find than ever. All 5 shows. Yeah, we have 5 shows going on right now, everybody. The Session, of course, Sour Hour, Brew Strong, Can You Brew It, and, of course, this little piece of garbage.
This gem of iniquity.
This gem of iniquity.
Can
Dr.
You Brew It
Homebrew.
is actually called Brewing with Style.
Brewing with Style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not can't you brew it, or can you? What? Yes. Yeah, one for each finger.
Why can't you brew it?
Yeah.
That's what it should be called. Why can't you brew it, comma, dummy.
Can we put the camera on him, please?
Trying to jam along with the Dr. Homebrew music. Sorry.
Yeah.
Here, I'll hang on a second.
But he hasn't tuned it in yet.
It's not tuned.
All right, here we go. I'm going to fade out, and you're going to play us out, Brian. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Dr. Homebrew. Absolutely terrible.